Hey guys, Dr. Kyle Loveless here. Today I want to talk to you about what do you do when your kids are sick. This is one of my most passionate but also a little bit frustrating things is because we have patients, we have people that follow what we do are really trying to live a healthy lifestyle, but once their kids get sick, it's just like, and I'm a parent, I have three kids. Yeah, I don't have too many kids now, I don't even know how many I have, but I have 3 kids, and I can tell you when they're sick, everything in my body just wants to help them and make that change. And it's really, really hard to keep faith, keep trust in what I know is best for them, right? I just want to go extreme and just get rid of it as fast as I can. And so, but the body's made a certain way. So today's video is going to be incredibly valuable for you and your family. So watch it all the way through. And hey, at the end, I got something I want to give you guys, so make sure you watch it at the end. But hey, subscribe to our channel, like this video, share it. I can promise you your friends are going to get a lot from it because I'm just giving you straight value or information that they can use to make a difference in their life. Let's get started on what do you do for your kids when they're sick. You know, yesterday I had a patient come in and she came in with her kids, and they've been patients for a while, and they really understand this health thing, and they want to be healthy. They get chiropractic care, they're doing their best to eat healthy, they like to take supplements that are good for their kids, and they're just doing their best to live a healthy lifestyle. And I think that's what most parents want, right? I know it's difficult, and some parents are just like, yeah, I don't have time for that. But for the most of us, we want to make sure our kids are getting healthy. And I think in the world we live in today, you literally have to become your own health expert, and you have to pay attention to what you're putting in your body, but also what you're putting in your kids' bodies, because it is going to make a big difference in their health long term. And so when they're sick, this is a very crucial time. This is a time when many times kids and you know, all of us throughout our lives, that has actually made the biggest negative impact in our life, based or positive impact in our life based on what we do in these moments. These are very, very important moments when our kids aren't feeling well. Maybe they have a fever, maybe they have a bacterial infection, maybe it's a viral infection, they're coughing. But this is it, guys, is when our kids are sick. I'm gonna give you an example or a story. So we have a 5-year-old, I have a 2.5-year-old, and we have a 3-month-old. And in that period of time, so that's about over 5 years of having kids, in that period of time, we've had, I think, 1, maybe 2 fevers. One of the fevers lasted 2 days. The other, and I'm not talking about like teething fevers. Those are just like quick little things that the body's doing to help prevent anything, you know, from teething. But I'm talking about like a real fever, 102. I think Eleanor's got to 104, and it was a scary moment, right? Like we're like, man, should we take her to the urgent care? You know, our minds are just kind of like, what do we need to do? And then we've also had 1 throw-up session with our daughter Isabel, and that was an overnight, I mean, throwing up. I'll spare you the details, but it was not fun. I mean, I don't even know how that much could come out of someone that small. And if you're a parent, you've probably experienced one of these things, but we've never had ear infections. We never had any of those things. And it's because of the preventative measures that we've taken for our kids since they were born. And I'll talk a little bit about those, but I really want to focus in on what we do when they do have a cold, or what you really should do when your kids have a cold. So we've done the preventative measures of, we don't have tons of chemicals going into their body from day one. We haven't given them any medications before. My wife, Dr. Holly, didn't take any medications or any Tylenols or ibuprofens while she was pregnant. We do breastfeeding all the way to 2 years old. We only do clean foods once they do start eating foods. No sugars, no cakes, none of those things. They've been getting chiropractic adjustments since the day they were born every week, which I think is extremely valuable for the immune system. So we've done all those things to prevent. But once they're actually fighting a cold, the whole world goes crazy, right? You're worried, you're scared, you just won't want your kids to be sick, and you've heard all these things about if the fever gets too hot, they're gonna have a seizure. If you know, if they're coughing too much, they're gonna gag, whatever it is. But here's the thing: it really comes down to having faith that God made the body to heal itself, and it's going to. That our body actually knows more about healing and how to take care of itself than any other thing man has created. Okay, and the truth is the things that man have created to try to help the body heal or get rid of things the body's dealing with, most of the time prevent the body from healing and make them worse. Here's an example. If we're coughing and we take a cough suppressant, the studies have shown that when you suppress that cough, you're actually increasing your chance of having something like pneumonia or things like that. And the reason is because what is coughing? You're trying to get rid of it, right? You block your body's ability to get rid of that virus and that bacteria. Well, it's just going to build up quicker. Or an antipyretic, which is an fever medication like Tylenol. Please, 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 if your child has a fever, do not give them Tylenol. There's 100 reasons why. Tylenol is the number one cause of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, number one. Number two, the studies have not shown that it's safe for children, and they're always being taken off the market. And number three, it's a chemical. It's hard on the body. And finally, you're blocking the innate ability for them to heal themselves, right? Because our body is made to heal itself. A fever is to burn out the virus. The studies have shown that it needs to get to 102 degrees to kill a bacteria and at least 104 degrees many times to kill a virus. So that 104-degree fever is not a bad thing. This is the hardest thing for us to understand. And I get it. When my daughter had a 104-degree fever, man, I had to just keep reminding myself, here's how the body works. It's doing its job. It's taking care of itself. Thank God that fever's there. Let it do its work, right? I'm not trying to get rid of it. And even though she was hot, it was horrible, it was scary, I had to have faith in that moment. And the truth of the matter is you're either having faith in the medicine or you're having faith in the power that made the body that will heal the body. That's the end of the day. You're having faith in the medicine, you're having faith in the power that made the body that will heal the body. And the truth is that if we're having faith in this is still causing harm. It just gives us what we see as a quick fix, okay? And so same thing with antibiotics. When we're taking an antibiotic 2 days in, 3 days into something, look, hey, the body's gonna get rid of it. I'm gonna give you the steps here on what to do to help the body get rid of it, but you gotta start. The starting point is to say, you know what, I'm not going there. Now, if it gets crazy out of control, yeah, maybe, but it's so, I mean, guys, it's gonna be so rare that your child is gonna go to that point in time, right, where they have to have an antibiotic. So let's have faith, let's have trust, and hold back on the antibiotics, hold back on the medications, the Tylenols, hold back on the ibuprofens, hold back on the cough suppressants, and just let your child's body do what it's supposed to do. Okay? Now there's natural cough things that help calm it a little bit, help the throat not hurt as bad and things like that. And you can find those are good, but we don't want to suppress it, okay? It's part of the innate immune response. All right, so let's dive into the same thing, throwing up, diarrhea. Thank God that's happening because the body's getting rid of something. When Isabel was throwing up, I just had to keep telling myself this is what her body's supposed to do. And here's what I did to make sure she made it through that process or that timeline to be healthy still. So number one, the first thing, which I kind of just talked about, is you have to honor their symptoms, okay? Remember, honor that this is the way the body works. This isn't, I don't even call it sick. You know, when they had a fever and they were throwing up, I didn't say they're sick. We say their body's expressing health. And think about that. Your body is actually expressing health when it gets a fever, because that's what it's made to do. It's expressing health when you cough. It's expressing health when you throw up. It's your body doing what it's supposed to do. These are all good things, okay? Support, now don't ignore the symptom, support the symptom. Help the body get rid of it. And so that's next is the first, best, and most important thing you can do when your child is sick is get them to sleep. Help them rest, help them sleep, and just as much sleep and as much rest, and this is for adults too, obviously, but as much sleep and as much rest as possible. I know whenever I get a cold or anything like that, I just sleep. That's it. I mean, I really don't take a lot of different things. Just go to sleep. Just try to get as much sleep as possible, because when you're sleeping, you're going into that recovery mode, regenerative mode, your immune system's boosted. It's doing its job to get rid of things, okay? So we're having faith that the immune system that God gave us is gonna work. Now next is, these are some things you can give them when it comes to eating. So if it's a fever and things like that, hey, let it starve that fever. You've heard of that before, starving the fever. And the reason that is because when the body's digesting food, it's gonna take away from that immune response. And there's a certain immune response that happens when we're fasting that takes it to the next level, okay? So trying to not give your child, I know I need to feel like, oh, okay, my child has to eat, but it's actually better not to feed them during that period of time. Let their body start a day, and now I'm not saying go a week, but a day of not eating is not gonna kill your child. It's gonna help their immune system, okay? Now, if you're like, I just wanna give them something for their stomach, maybe they're throwing up a lot, or maybe they just have a really bad stomach ache, do something like bone broth. Bone broth is a great way. Now, organic bone broth is gonna be the way you wanna go, and ideally you make it at home, put your sea salt in there, your herbs in there, things like that. Not Campbell's soup, that's not what I'm talking about. That's what I got when I was a kid. But actual real soup or bone broth. And that is a high nutrient value, it's a high sodium and actually electrolyte value, And it's that warming sense that bone broth actually helps soothe the stomach and heal the digestive system and helps the immune system. So you can do bone broth. I also did with Isabel, we did electrolytes. So I have something that's called Vibe. It's an electrolyte mix. And I just kept that in her little water bottle. And every time she would throw up, we'd go, this is 12 a.m., 1 a.m. in the morning. So we'd go back to bed and I was laying with her and she would drink her electrolyte water each time and just making sure she's trying our best to keep those electrolytes replenished, okay? And then obviously water, good clean water. Don't go to Pedialyte. Now I said electrolytes, not Pedialyte. Pedialyte has a fluoride in there. It's nasty. You keep that away from your children, okay? Electrolyte mixes without natural flavorings, without synthetic sweeteners, without sugar, that's what you want. Next is remove the things that are gonna make them worse. So if your child's at a place like they're fighting a cold, maybe it's just a sinus congestion, maybe it's a cough, but they're still eating, right? They're not like knocked out, right? So they're still eating. So here's what I'm gonna say to do. You gotta stay away from the things that are gonna suppress the immune system. Remember, we're honoring the immune response and we're trying to strengthen the immune response because that's what's gonna get rid of it. And so here's what you do. You say, okay, we're not gonna have sugar, which you shouldn't really have anyways, but we're not gonna have a lot of refined sugars. We're not gonna have any food colorings or food dyes or preservatives, right? We're not gonna have gluten, we're not gonna have dairy, we're not gonna have soy, we're not gonna have corn, and we're not gonna have canola oil, vegetable oil, hydrogenated oil. Everything I just said, by the way, is what eating plan you should be following for you and your family in the first place, but you wanna go even more extreme and make sure during that period of time that they're only eating real food. Steamed vegetables, good, healthy, free-range organic meats, that's it. Okay, and I know that doesn't sound like fun, but it's what's going to strengthen their body so that they can have that good immune response. Okay, so that's it. That's another next step. Finally, is take immune support supplements. Remember, it's all about supporting the immune response, not trying to take it over with an antibiotic. Now, there are some natural, you might hear my baby crying in the background, that's William, but there are some natural antiviral, antibiotic things, but they also support the body. Okay, so one of the things that we do is anytime myself, my kids, anybody in my family has some sort of maybe their sinuses are getting congested, you could just tell something's coming on, or they're starting to get a little bit of cough, maybe you're in a little bit of that itchiness in your throat and you're like, uh-oh, something's coming. Here's what you do. You get colloidal silver, okay? You squirt that up the nose and you squirt it in the back of the throat. You let it sit there for a bit, rinse it down. And you get hydrogen peroxide, you squirt that up your nose, you squirt that in the back of your throat, and then you spit that out. You wash it around, spit it out, but let's sit there for a little bit, okay? And this is actually, that recommendation actually comes from a medical doctor, Dr. McMillan, who's one of the most renowned doctors on the planet. If anybody follows Dr. Patrick Flynn, you can see his most recent interview about the recent virus. I don't want to say the name, but the recent virus and the mRNA stuff and everything else that he was talking about. He's one of the most researched doctors on that. So go watch that video with Dr. Patrick Flynn and Dr. McMillan. You'll love it. So colloidal silver, hydrogen peroxide. Those are two good, strong antivirals. If you can get to that before it gets into the lungs, makes a huge difference. And then the next is other immune boosters. So we got our vitamin D3. We know that if we have enough D3, our immune system is going to be at a good, strong point. Vitamin C. Okay, for kids, vitamin D3, 2,500, maybe 5,000, depending on the age of the child. Our 5-year-old, I would give her 5,000 at that point, but our 2-year-old, I would do more like 2,500. And we have a liquid one that we use from a company named Systemic Formulas, okay? They have a great vitamin D3 that kids love. Okay, so we got vitamin D3, we have vitamin C. Okay, vitamin C is actually something that will help that innate immune response in that white blood cells to increase. It's also a very strong antioxidant, which is very effective in that period of time. Okay, so we got vitamin C, we got our vitamin D3. You can use herbs like astragalus. You can use herbs like elderberry, or not necessarily elderberries are more like a fruit, but you can use elderberries, syrup. You can use local honey, can be very effective as an antiviral. Mucuna honey is really good as something to support your immune system. There's so many good immune responses. I know quercetin, there's a ton of them. Okay, and I'm not saying you need to go and take all of them. Zinc, another great example, but you don't need to take all of them. Just your vitamin C, your vitamin D3, get them a good multivitamin for kids that doesn't have all kinds of sugar in it, and let them rest. Okay, so those are the main things that we do for our kids right there. Everything I just told you is exactly what we do when our kids have a cold, and hey, it's actually exactly what we do when we have a cold. So it's not any different. But I can tell you this, our kids are 5 years old, they've never had a medication or over-the-counter medication put in their body, and I hope to God that they never will in their entire life. But you never know. Something might happen where that has to happen. I'm not saying there's not a place for it. What I'm saying and the reason I made this video is because I want you guys to really, truly understand that, look, we're going to it way too quickly. 3 days, 4 days, that's way too fast. I know we don't want our kids to suffer, but at the same time, it's actually making it worse on their bodies because guess what? That antibiotic and that Tylenol, it doesn't just go through, it affects the system. And over time, 10, 15, 20 years later, now they're coming to a doctor like me with gut issues, or now they're coming to a doctor like me with autoimmune issues or liver issues if they've taken too much Tylenol. This is how it starts. I talked to the patients with fatty liver issues. It was Tylenol back in the day that used to take all the time. So think of it that way. Think long term, okay, not short term. It's hard. We get in this bubble, this like zoned in when our kids are sick. And we're like, give me something to block it because we're fixers. We want to fix it. I hope this video encourages you. I hope it gives you a little bit more faith, more trust in the body that it is going to heal itself. The idea of there's seizures and everything else with fevers, very rare. And I'll just tell you, our daughter Eleanor, her fever got to 104. Within that month, she actually had a seizure. I'm sorry, within that month, I'm sorry. With that night, she had a seizure and her fever broke. She had a febrile seizure. It seems scary, and yeah, it was scary. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. But here's the thing, if you Google febrile seizures, they're absolutely normal. Mayo Clinic says it on their website, absolutely normal. It's not something to be scared of. It's the normal function of the body to break that fever. They're not going to burn. Okay, I've never, in the history, go Google kids burned up in fever and died. Very rare, it's not gonna happen. Your body's gonna do what it's supposed to do. It's gonna kick that febrile seizure in if it needs to, break the fever. And after that, she broke the fever, she threw up, she had a horrible, something out the back end, she had horrible diarrhea, and by the morning, better. She was tired, she slept the rest of the day, but the fever and all that never came back and she was good. It's because we honored the symptoms. Okay, so that was kind of drawn out as long, but hey, if you care about your kids, I know you watched that all the way through, and hopefully you took what I said and said, you know what, I'm gonna start honoring those symptoms. I'm gonna start learning more about how do I strengthen the immune response for my kids, and more importantly, start preventing by following a non-inflammatory diet. Get your kids moving, get them off the screens. Hey, no more synthetic sweeteners and all these products and other things that we're putting on their skin, cleaning products, antibacterial soaps, all that stuff that's killing their immune response. All right, you guys have an awesome day. We'll talk to you next time.